I am a political scientist by training, specialising in Middle East politics. I was invited to come to Iran by an Iranian university. All I knew was that the reception of the hotel told me that some men had come looking for me. They brought me from the airport interrogation room. I was taken to a very small infiradi cell, no natural light, no window. I spent 1 month in this little extreme infiradi box. I then spent further several months in infiradi after that, but this was a different cell, slightly bigger with a small squatter toilet attached, but I was still alone. It's deliberate torture designed to break you for interrogations, because during this period I was being interrogated quite relentlessly as well. In the interrogation block of the prison, which was next to the women's unit. Ultimately, I was able to establish contact with some of the other female prisoners in the Dualif unit. I received a letter from 2 Iranian political prisoners opposite the cell I was in, Niloufar Bayani and Hoda Amin, and they wrote to me on a small scrap of toilet paper and told me their names, and they wrote in English, told me I'm not alone, that I have them, they're my friends. We set up an illicit note-passing network using stolen pens. We used scraps of packaging or toilet paper to write letters to each other on and pass them between ourselves using a variety of different methods. Niloufar Bayani is a very special person to me. I honestly see her as my sister. She got me through more than a year of really, really difficult conditions in Dualif, including my whole court process. These wonderful, brave, courageous Iranian women really saved me. They spoke English. They were able to enlighten me as to where I was, that it was the Revolutionary Guards who'd arrested me, that I shouldn't make a false confession no matter what, that this practice of hostage diplomacy is something that Iran has been doing repeatedly to foreigners, and that there will be some sort of diplomatic deal to exchange me, hopefully in the end, when all of this is over. They gave me so much information, and it really educated me and enlightened me as to the situation I was in, and it really saved me in many ways. I was able to communicate to the women in Evin, Umumi, that I was pregnant and expecting a little girl last year. And 2 of them, Niloufar Bayani and Golroch Irai, knitted baby items for me as a gift and managed to send them to me. And Niloufar's beautiful pink cardigan that she knitted for my daughter Leah became really a favourite item in her wardrobe. And I treasure it, and I can't wait to introduce Leah to her one day. I was learning Farsi during my time in prison. I had a dictionary, I had a grammar book, and I was teaching myself the language from watching TV and speaking to the prison guards, essentially. Part of my written writing and comprehension language was directed at being able to advocate for myself in the Farsi language to judiciary officials, prison officials, Revolutionary Guard people, the judge in my court. Miraculously, some of these letters did make it out, and actually the physical letter in some cases returned to me here in Australia, even years later, which I find incredible. Some of these letters I was also able to leak out of the prison, and that was a second objective when writing them.
مورد نامه خانم کایلی مور 2 نکته قابل تأمل وجود داره. یکی زمان انتشار این نامه هست و دیگری زمان نوشته شدن نامه ها. به نظر میرسه که خانم کایلی مور به این نتیجه رسیدن که شاید اگر ایشون هم صداشون رو بلند بکنن در جامعه بین‌المللی بهتر شنیده بشن و احتمال آزادیشون افزایش پیدا بکنه.
اینجا دادگاه است. کجای کاری شما؟ متهم تا به این لحظه هیچ صداقتی از خود به خرج نداده.
I went to court 4 times in total to see Aghay Salavati. 2 lawyers that my family attempted to hire were rejected by the judge, Salavati. Finally, 1 week before I was to go on trial, Salavati accepted the 3rd choice of lawyer. I met him once to sign paperwork accepting him as my lawyer, but he was not able to ask me anything and I wasn't able to give him any evidence or speak to him at all. My lawyer had to sit far away from me in the court and I wasn't able to talk to him when I turned up for the trial either. So all I understood was that I was being charged with cooperation in espionage. Once it became clear I would be sent to court and convicted of some bullshit bogus charges, I started to resist my captors. Would stage hunger strikes, physical strikes, so sitting in an area and refusing to move and go back to my cell. I would contact other prisoners, I would talk to other prisoners behind their doors and refuse to be dragged away. I managed to escape from Havakhori and climb onto the roof of the interrogation building for a few hours. I think as a punishment for that resistance, I was sent to Qarchak prison.
کایلی شما چیز داری؟ خودت کارت تلفن نداری بخوای تماس بگیری هنوز؟ هیچ کارتی ندارم براش زنگ بزنم.
When I made that call, I was in the Havakhori area of the quarantine section of Qarchak. They had these ancient sort of 1970s style phone booths on the walls in this outside area of the quarantine unit, and an activist friend of mine, Suhaila Hijab, had called Reza Khandan. I didn't know who Reza Khandan was. She was trying to help me, I think, but she didn't communicate with me what was going on. I didn't know that he was Nasreen Sotoudeh's husband. Of course, Nasreen would then come into Qarchak only a couple of months later, and I would be in the ward with her and got to know that that was her husband because she became my friend. I was scared, I was very sick. This is why in this call I'm talking about being very depressed and not being able to eat. I was in shock. I wasn't really feeling anything. I think I was just numb. A lot had gone wrong in the process of my release. There was long delays, last minute fights and disagreements. It was sort of, we were on tenterhooks until the very last moment. The Deputy Foreign Minister Araqchi was there and I had a brief conversation with him. There were just all these people everywhere. I was in a real state of shock and just numb and not fully letting myself believe that I'm going to be free and I'm going to be leaving the country finally. Even when we were in the plane, taking off, it wasn't until we crossed out of Iranian airspace that I could properly breathe and properly feel like, okay, it's actually happened. You're out of there, you're not going back, they can't get you now, you're going home. I was very conflicted when I learnt about the nature of the prisoner exchange, that these were 3 convicted terrorists, that they were dangerous people, violent men. So I'm very conflicted about it, and in an ideal world those men would still remain behind bars.
تابستان 1397 زنی به نام کایلی مور-گیلبرت با تابعیت دوگانه استرالیایی انگلیسی حین خروج از کشور در فرودگاه بین‌المللی امام خمینی رحمت الله علیه دستگیر می‌شود. به راستی کایلی مور-گیلبرت کیست و چرا در ایران بازداشت شد؟
I mean, it's funny to me. They asked me all sorts of questions there. Like, I really unloaded on them, so they couldn't include nearly any of the footage in the actual propaganda clip. Because I just didn't care at that point. And I was numb and in shock, and I was just enraged because we were already 4 or 5 hours late. It was well into the afternoon by the time I was stood in front of Evin and told to do this propaganda clip. I was sick to death of their bullshit.
سرویس‌های اطلاعاتی و امنیتی دشمن صهیونیستی همواره پروژه‌های جاسوسی زیادی را برای نفوذ در ایران در دستور کار خود قرار دادند که با لطف خداوند متعال و عنایات حضرت ولی عصر عجل الله تعالی فرجه الشریف تا کنون جملگی ناکام مانده و پروژه نفوذ و جاسوسی کایلی مور-گیلبرت نیز به خیلی پروژه‌های شکست خورده آنان افزوده شد.
What happened to me in Iran's had a huge impact on my personal life and my professional life. I lost my career. I essentially lost my job. That's not to say it's all been entirely negative. And I learned a lot about myself in prison. You learn your boundaries. You learn what you're capable of suffering through. So whilst I lost a lot, I'm actually also grateful for the lessons that I learned in the process. And I'm doing my best to pick myself up and build my life again.